G'day folks. Well, for today, this morning, we're going to work on my Series 1 Jag. Went to drive it around just early this morning and it started running on a few cylinders. Like, it just dropped 3 cylinders or so. I found out the rearmost carburetor was slightly blocked. Originally I was going to pull them to bits and clean them 100% to fix it, but just choking it with my hand and toggling the jet. There's a pull down jet with a lever on it that pulls the jet in the centre of the carby down. I'll show you that once I take the tops off them. That was a nice little delivery that just showed up. That's my Geiger counter, or dossier meter, or whatever you want to call it. We'll open that in a second, but what I was just saying before is we're going to pull these carburetors apart and clean them. They look pretty atrocious, a lot of carbon crap. I never cleaned them when I got the car, so it's well overdue for it. Just go over the engine bay and give everything a bit of a general tidy up and check. But yeah, she was running on a few cylinders and just worked out that one there was leaning out. So that's all good. I pulled the plugs out and cleaned them anyway and worked out these were the cleaner ones. Those ones there were struggling because this was the only 3 cylinders or so that were working. I believe the manifold's connected through, so that carby was trying to run the whole engine and these 2 to 3 were starving. So it's all good. Let's open my surprise package. What a wonderful surprise package that is. I've always wanted one of these. This is from Tristan in Minnesota. I'll post a link to his video channel on the video, and I'll do a proper video on this once I get it all working. As I say, normally say batteries not included, but in this case we've even got batteries included. It's fantastic. Only thing I noticed is maybe the meter's taken a bit of a knock during transport and it doesn't just sit down at 0, it just sort of floats around a bit. So I can get them anyway. I think the site's called Anything Radioactive or something like that, and they sell spare parts for these anyway. You can get various GM tubes, you can get meters, you can get whatever you want for them. I'll buy a headphones adapter and maybe even one of the little stick-on speakers for it. You can get quite a lot of accessories for these CDV 700s. They are available all over the place. So pretty straightforward, basic PCB with capacitors and transistors and resistors on it, that's about it. I don't know what vintage these are, but it's fairly early technology. Getting them calibrated is one thing, but around in Australia you really don't need them. So as long as it picks up ambient radiation, I'll be happy. But I'll stick the batteries in it and do a proper video later. Oh, hang on, there we go. November 1984. So a little bit newer than I thought, but that's all good. Maybe these meters are supposed to do that until they get power through them. We'll find out. Either way, it can be fixed, and it was a bargain. I'm not going to say how much I got it for, but I'll definitely give him a shout out for it, that's for sure. Because after the incident in Japan, the price of these things skyrocketed. So to get one for the price I did is pretty rare. So big thanks to you, Tristan. I will post your YouTube channel in the description and do a full video on this once I've got it powered up and finished. But right now I've got to get this car working because my dad bought a Mitsubishi Star Wagon to pull bits off or drive around in or something like that. He's got 2 Mitsubishi vans and he wants to make one good one out of the 2. So this car has to move, and I think he wants to park it in the backyard, so all this stuff has to move. Yeah, these carbs are way overdue for a clean. A little nasty. That's the spring, without losing any parts. That's the cylinder with its damper inside. That takes automatic transmission fluid. You just fill it up till it's full and stuff the thing back in and it'll level itself out. That's the damper tube, which has ATF in it. The rest of it will just go down the intake and get burnt up. As long as you don't flood it with it, it shouldn't hurt the engine. And this is the piston, which contains the fuel needle. If you've worked on motorcycle carbs like Mikuni carburetors, you'd be familiar with piston type carbs. Whoops, and there goes the auto fluid. That's what I was saying, it goes everywhere. That's alright though. Whatever you do, don't bend that needle. the worst thing you could do. Yeah, that's what I was saying. There's auto fluid inside that damper tube, and it definitely needs a good clean. It's all scored and dirty. So you can stay there and I'll clean this crap off my hands. And that's the body there with the main jet at the bottom. I'll try and get a better light so you can see it. But she definitely needs a good clean. Half tempting just to take them off and wash them. Just flood them with carby cleaner and scrub them up. There we go, looking a lot better now. Still not quite done, there's a few spots of carbon and crap on there. But a lot of that's from the PCV, which is up here on the front of the timing chain adjustment point. And you get oil and soot and crap coming through the crankcase ventilation gases. So they naturally get pretty dirty. If it's been backfiring a bit, it just blows all that carbon and crap back out as well. So you do get a fair bit of crap in these carbies. I'm going to take this brace off, or not take it off, but just loosen the bolts and swing it over to get to this one. But that's the same deal. I'll finish cleaning up around here. These carbies use vacuum to pull the piston up. When you open the throttle valve, you get a sudden rush of air going into the manifold, which is under vacuum, and that rush of air creates a negative pressure inside the cylinder on top, and it pulls the piston up. So they're pretty easy, pretty simple design. It's a bit hard to show how they actually work, but yeah, it's to do with pressure differential. You've got two holes in the bottom there which go into the top of the cylinder housing, so once you open the throttle you get negative pressure inside the top of the cylinder, and the piston itself just goes straight up. They're really neat carbies, pretty easy to work on, good for the DIYer. They're just a bit hard to get tuned in, especially when you've got 2 or 3 of them. Thankfully I've only got 2 on this one, not 3. Because these did come out with triple carbies on them at one stage and they were a pain in the ass to tune in. But we'll keep pushing forwards. I'll finish cleaning this one up, put it back together and pull the other one apart. And that little brassy bit in the centre is the jet that I was talking about. You can manually choke these by toggling the lever on the underside. I don't think you can see it, but the jet is inside that outer brass bushing. And when you pull up on the lever, it pulls the jet down and lets lots of fuel through. So they're really simple principle. Really simple principles. So yeah, as for cleaning down here, I got rid of a bit of it, but it's all soot from the crankcase. You'd have to pull the manifold off and clean it all inside and out otherwise. And I don't want to hear anyone suggest that seafoam shit. I know what that does to engines. I understand how engines work, and it is just bad news. An engine like this engine runs really high compression. A little bit of soot on the plugs or something, it'll just diesel. If I were to put seafoam in here, all you would hear is the sound of piston skirts smashing into the side of the cylinder, and it would break things. Eventually I'd probably end up with a piston crown separation or just something horrible. Not to mention all that shit getting washed down into the engine anyway and turning into a lapping compound. It washes the oil and crap off the walls of the cylinder, runs the rings dry against the walls as a result, contaminates your oil, got to do another 9 litre oil change. Nah, forget seafoam, I don't care what people say about it. I know enough about how engines work to know that it is bad news. And after seeing some of the videos on YouTube, yeah, I ain't gonna do it. Well, second carby is, I think it's worse because nobody could be bothered taking the brace off to clean it. The screws on this one are incredibly tight. The screws on this one had been undone a few times and weren't that tight. So yeah, that carby had been neglected. And the piston's dirtier, it's got a lot of carbon and shit on it. Every bit of dirt and crap on one of these just slows it down, impedes its performance. Funny thing is that jet's a lot lower than the other one. But it runs alright though. I wonder if the needle's in a different position on the piston though. I'm not going to play with any of that tuning, it's been running fine so far. My neighbour's mowing his lawn, so that's what all the weird noises are. Running into something. Oh well, I'll clean this one up and do a separate cold start or warm start video, which is still warm. So thanks for watching. I'll get this thing on the go. Damn, uploads are too big these days. Takes too long.